This no tax on Social Security, absolutely false. This no tax on tips, absolutely false, because with no tax on tips, you still have to pay payroll taxes. And by the way, I'm going to say this. People act like, oh, I'm not going to be taxed on my tips. Most of these people never pay taxes on their tips because they never reported them. But now, what is that going to look like moving forward? I'm a bit biased, and I try to remove my biases because I know where my headspace is. So I try to remove that and say, what are the numbers telling me? The numbers aren't telling me that this has been a boon for anyone outside of people like myself.
Let's be honest. When you hear Wall Street, you probably think of glass skyscrapers, high-frequency trading, and jargon designed to keep you out. And when you hear Main Street, you think of hard work, local businesses, and the actual economy we live in every day. For too long, there's been a massive gap between those two worlds. Welcome to the Main Street Meets Wall Street podcast. I'm Marcus, coming to you from Wall Street South. We launched this podcast and built this show on a very simple premise. I help Main Street meet Wall Street. We aren't here for get-rich-quick schemes. We're here to translate global market trends into local reality. We're covering the entire economy, from the Federal Reserve's latest moves to the heartbeat of the corner store. But I'm not doing this alone. We're bringing on the heavy hitters, industry experts and financial veterans who just aren't here to talk. They're there to break down the complex Wall Street jargon into Main Street English. And on the days when the news is moving fast or the topic needs a deep dive, I'll be going solo, stripping away the noise to give you a direct, no-nonsense look at exactly how the headlines impact your bottom line. We're living in a time of incredible change. The old rules are being rewritten, and the lines between the trading floor and the storefront is thinner than ever. We launched just a few days ago. Not too long, because this conversation needs to happen. You don't need a blazer and mahogany desk to build wealth and understand the world. You just need the right perspective and a seat at the table. So we built the table. If you know, you know. It's time to bridge the gap. Join me as I help Main Street meet Wall Street. Don't miss a single episode as we build this community from the ground up. Hit that follow button and subscribe to the Main Street Meets Wall Street podcast right now. Anywhere you get podcasts. Main Street Heart, Wall Street Smarts. Let's get to work.
Welcome back to another episode of Main Street Meets Wall Street, where we cut through the noise of the financial markets to bring institutional-grade insight directly to your front door. I'm your host, Marcus Durbin, Sr., and today's guest understands better than anyone what it means to perform under pressure and manage high-stake transitions. On this show, we often talk about the major leagues of finance, but our guest today has actually lived it. And on the most famous diamond in the world, he spent years in the pinstripes as an outfielder for the New York Yankees, learning the discipline, strategy, and resilience required to succeed at the highest level of professional sports. But he didn't stop there. He took the same pro ball work ethic and applied it to the world of wealth management and protection. He is the founder of I9 Financials, where he helps families and businesses owners protect their assets and build a legacy that lasts far beyond the final end. He's a strategist who understands that a winning game plan requires both a strong offense and an unbreakable defense. He also seen the ups and downs of the financial world personally, so he speaks from a spot of empathy. Please help me and welcome to the show, former New York Yankee and the powerhouse behind I9 Financial Services, Kevin Thompson.
Man, I don't know who that guy is, but that guy is somebody I want to meet. That guy sounds awesome. Yeah, yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. And again, just for clarity, 9I Capital Group is the RIA. It's okay. 9I Capital Group's the RIA. By the way, you're not the. It happens all the time because I-9 is the form where people it's the immigration form, and they get that a lot of confused. But again, 9I Capital Group RIA here in Texas. I am excited to have this conversation today on this show, my friend. Yeah. Hey man, 9I, I9, it doesn't matter. We're all in this together, my friend. A name's a name.
Tomato.
Exactly.
So, Kevin, we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. Kevin, you play for the most Yankees fans, so I'm a little biased. The most storied franchise in sports history, professional sports history. What was one of the disciplines that you learned playing baseball throughout your life that you applied in your world and life now?
Well, one thing I'll say is just it's the small things. So in Zen they call it, I think it's Kaizen and Gaman. It's doing the small things and having the small victories. And from when you wake up in the morning to what you wear in the morning to how you go about your business on a daily basis, it's those small things that build larger outcomes. And that is what I do on this daily basis. It's like, hey, what are we doing today? Yes, we have a large gargantuan goal. We want to get to $100 million. How do we do that? That's fine. It's coming, but you got to do the small things. It's like eating an elephant, right? You got to take small chunks and you got to eat that elephant one bite at a time. You can't just say, I'm going to take the whole thing in. So it's the same thing with business, the same thing with sports, whether it's working out, what you put in your body. It's just the small things. They compound over a longer period of time. And hey, you end up having a good outcome, bad outcome, doesn't really matter, because the journey is the actual job. If you think about it, the journey is the quest. Just because you get to the end goal, that's fine. That's the goal, but the quest and the learning is all in the journey. And that's what I believe. I'm sorry if I got stoic and zen on you there, but that's where our mind is.
No, Kaizen's great. Continuous improvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
The process of continually getting better. You mentioned compounding. So compounding interest, one of the strongest forces in nature, as
Yeah.
Einstein stated a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the little things being the big things that help you grow. But also inside that same thing, I actually posted, maybe it was like yesterday on LinkedIn. Kevin's pretty active on LinkedIn for those who don't know too.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's really good on LinkedIn. Kevin will
Yeah.
call you out. But it was it was a statement. It was a statement to the fact where if you're doing the wrong thing continually, you perfect practice makes perfect. And
Yes. Yes.
perfection is definitely, as you mentioned, the journey and the quest are what it's about. So
Yeah.
perfection is the enemy of good, or just getting
Oh my
stuck.
God. That's you just hit the nail on the head. If you're trying to perfect something, you're going nowhere. The enemy of good is perfection. And I am on that camp where I'd rather be doing something okay and then figure it out on the process. People always say this, like, hey man, I'm flying the plane and building it at the exact same time. And that's my stance. It's like, hey, I'm going to figure out, I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm okay with that as long as I'm moving forward in the journey. Because what's going to happen to a lot of people, they're going to say, before I take on this journey, I got to know what I'm going to bring on for food. I'm going to know what the journey's going to look like. I got to know the weather. I got to know this. I got to know that. And they have not moved anywhere. They're still just in that same spot. While the other person, he may not have all the rations, but they're halfway there. So it's about just taking those steps, making those mistakes, and understanding, and this is just my opinion, everybody, even your mentors, have gone through the minefields, but their minefields are their minefields. Your minefields are going to be your minefields. And yes, follow them, listen to them, gain instruction, but don't necessarily believe that just because they've had their hiccups, you're not going to have any hiccups because they've already crossed those minefields. No, they only see the minefields that are ahead of them. There's going to be additional minefields ahead of you, and understand that.
Yeah, everyone's journey is their own, but it's like
100%.
like you said, you can't. History has shown us that you can't invade Russia in the winter, right? You can't. You go. Well, you're
People
setting
will
up.
try. They'll try.
People will try, but no one succeeded. So, like you said, with the whole entire, you get started on your process. With some people planning, they'll just be stuck. They'll be
Yes.
set in fear trying to get this thing going, and it's just, it's frustrating to see that. And
Mhm.
then you see people who won't even get started. A good saying. So I used to work for a company called Fuddruckers. Great owners, great business.
Yeah.
Fuddruckers is great, right?
Hey,
And
what happened to Fuddruckers, by the way? They go bankrupt? Where they at? I think we had one here in Fort Worth. It was crazy.
So Fuddruckers, they definitely consolidated, but Fuddruckers is owned by, I can't remember his name, Nicholas Perkins, I think.
Yeah.
He's a black guy. I think he's the largest owner of a burger franchise. But Fuddruckers has definitely seen some changes, to say
Yeah.
the least. But this was a franchise down here in the South, right? And the owners are at the point of retiring. One's pretty much, he's ready to retire to watch a little more hands-on. And I'll say to her, you can't steal second without taking your foot off first. People don't seem to want to understand. They get lost in there.
Yeah.
I know another thing, with you is, as I mentioned with LinkedIn, you're prolific on there. You also are quoted in the media a good bit. Another thing we share in common with that. One of the things recently transitioned a little bit was on the One Big Beautiful Bill. That's a thing that I've talked about recently. Can you just elaborate on that. Is it beautiful big bill? Is it one big beautiful bill or is it one big ugly bill? I've heard it called both.
So I, as an EA, and I study this stuff, and I go deep, man. I go deep in this stuff. It was more an expansion. Well, okay, now I'll say this. It was an extension over an expansion. I'll say that. It's an extension. You're extending the tax rate, the current tax rates to the future years. It wasn't necessarily an expansion only for people like us, people like me who own businesses. I get 100% bonus depreciation now. These large entities get 100%. They get to be able to write off massive amount of CapEx. Why do you see so much of this CapEx spending happening right now? They're writing that off. That's a deduction that reduces their taxable income. This bill was specifically for the business owner. I don't give a dang what they say. This was a business owner bill. Yeah, you got some tax credits in there and all the other stuff, mainly for business owners. And I will die in the sand saying that, because I'm going to tell you what I've seen. I've done the due diligence. I said, okay, taxpayer A 2024, what did they make? 2025, OB VBA Bill 03B comes in. What does it look like? And of course, you got to increase their tax, their income by 2 or 3% because of inflation, and then all the other things go up as well, the marginal rates and everything like that. The difference from an exact same level of income with a slight increase in inflation, it was $81 for this particular client. $81 difference. And the $81 was, they owed $81 more in 2025 versus 2024. Different legislation, all of what it is. This was 3-card money. And the winners have been people like myself that are business owners and the corporate structure, 100%.
There you go.
And I don't want people knocking on your door for your show, because they're going to be like, oh, hey, you let this guy on your show?
No, you're good. I want people to come knocking on the door for the show so we can have conversations. I mean, so people should understand when you say you're an EA, that means you're an enrolled agent. So you know tax stuff. It's not like you're just some guy off the street making these statements. Like you say, when you go deep, like you literally are qualified to argue in front of the Supreme Court with that designation.
Yeah.
So on the other side, people will say, and I think in general, when it comes to savings, I think it's set up for the investor versus the W-2 employee.
Yes.
Like in the long term.
1,000%.
But with this, the other side, or what other side from where you're coming from would say, okay, in this bill, you got child tax credits extended 10%, so $200, right?
Yeah.
But you're going to see the biggest refunds ever, but now we're in a war where it's getting eaten up. What are some of the pushback that you've received as far as to how this bill is beautiful? Because it sounds like you might not think it's quite as beautiful for everyday Americans.
I'm a bit biased, and I try to remove my biases because I know where my headspace is. So I try to remove that and say, what are the numbers telling me? The numbers aren't telling me that this has been a boon for anyone outside of people like myself, hiring business owners. Other than that, you're seeing $81 tax differentials to the upside for people with the same level of income. Other than that, you're seeing, well, let me be frank. So the retirees, which is, I work with a lot of retirees. Yeah, the enhanced deduction has been great, but for a majority of them that I'm working with that are over $150,000 or more from an income perspective, they're saving maybe between $700 and $1,500 in regards to the taxes they would owe. Now, what you have heard, no tax on Social Security, no tax on tips. But what is happening is that when I'm going through their tax returns and I'm submitting their tax returns and they have zero withholdings on their Social Security, well, they forgot that they have IRA distributions, pension distributions, which, of course, the RMD on the IRA, they owe taxes. And then I'm saying, okay, what we're going to do moving forward is increase our withholdings on our Social Security because you didn't withhold anything last year. And that's going to offset any additional tax they owe. So this no tax on Social Security, absolutely false. This no tax on tips, absolutely false. Because with no tax on tips, you still have to pay payroll taxes. And by the way, I'm going to say this. People act like, oh, I'm not going to be taxed on my tips. Most of these people never pay taxes on their tips anyways because they never reported them. But now, what is that going to look like moving forward? Oh, this year I have $50,000 in tips. Well, you didn't report, but $10,000 last year. How does that going to make you look into the IRS? You know what I mean? You're basically telling on yourself. So at the end of the day, it's just smoke and mirrors to me, because I know behind the scenes what's going on. But there has been some benefits for certain segments of the society, especially retirees and things like that. So I will have to tip my hat to that. There has been a little bit of a boon in regards to the retiree space.
Gotcha.
I know I said a lot there, and I apologize.
No, you have space to say more for sure. Because people, listeners and viewers, these are things that everyday Americans might not hear, because what you hear are these larger refunds, or tax cuts or tax credits. And what you're saying, they're definitely not necessarily tax cuts or tax credits when you look at it. And like top line, they are. And when you file the paper, they are. But when it comes down to what really matters, our disposable income is nominal at best.
Well, just think about this way. Like if you're saying you're giving me, so from the OBBA, so it was July 4th when it passed, right? July 4th, 2025, I believe. What happens is there's a change in regards to the withholdings. The withholdings need to be adjusted. The withholdings for the 2025 weren't adjusted on the IRS code. So what happens now is that you have over withholding happening for the majority of the rest of the year. So people were over withholding from July to December. So now, with that being said, you file your taxes, you see this, I get $3,000 or $2,000. That is your money. That's not like it's some magical potion that the government just gave you. That's just your money from over withholding. You gave the government an additional amount of your check to hold on for you, so they can give it right back to you. Tax-free, interest-free, by the way. And that's all that means.
Right. And people tend to miss that whole point. They're like, I'm going to get a big refund at the end of the year. Like, you probably want your taxes balanced out with your withholdings, where you're not getting any refund at the end of the year. Because that means you have your money, like you said, where you can actually put it somewhere where you're earning interest or some type of income from this money, or at least you have your money if you need it.
1,000%.
At that point.
Yeah.
At that point. Anything else you want to expand on with the OBBA?
I call it the O3B to make it simple for us, right? But
O3B, the Russell Center, Russell Jones.
I just really feel like you know what? I told somebody this a couple of days ago. I said, I read a lot. I keep myself educated, keep myself informed. And I said, sometimes I wish I was the person that just walked around and like, okay, everything's good. You know what I mean?
Ignorance is bliss.
Just ignorance is bliss, right? And this is one of those things when you read the bill. I've read it multiple times, and it's a bunch of pages, and you can chat GPT or Claude or whatever you want to use. And yeah, man, it's just, you start seeing the holes in the plan. The benefit is, for people like me, this is great. I told people this all the time. I say, hey, I'm not upset. I mean, I get a QBI deduction. I get the bonus depreciate stuff. I get to write off all my expenses. This is a wonderful thing. But for a W-2 person, whatever, there's no real move for you. So yeah, this is basically just been a tax cut for businesses. 100%.
Got you. And even one of the bigger things, like you said, with the senior deduction, if it's not itemized, I was having this conversation with some seniors in my family. I was talking about, I was like, you should be getting bigger refunds, right? They're like, well, once we itemized it didn't come out to any type of bigger refund, so we just took the senior deduction. Like, goodness. And then you have the SALT, right? You want to expand on that maybe a little bit. That doesn't particularly help anyone B2 unless maybe you have multiple homes or something that's actually taxed. So what's your thoughts on the SALT portion of that? Because that was a big part where everyone was speaking.
SALT, you know why they did SALT, right? You know why hey man, these blue states, New York and California, I don't like them. So I got to get after them, right? So and now it's helping them out just a little bit more, because there's a high tax states, right? You got high property taxes and things like that. So yeah, it does help. And if you're itemizing, that definitely helps in those situations. So yeah, I see it helping just a tad bit for some of those individuals, especially if you can start writing off your state and local taxes. Again, majority of people use standard deduction, especially here in Texas, and there's just really no additional benefit. Now, like from our standpoint, standard deduction plus enhanced deduction, if you're a retiree, plus you have another $1,600 or so per person or whatever for senior deduction. I mean, you get up to $47,000 to $48,000 of standard deductions coming down. Now, here's something that I think is funny. If you just have Social Security income coming in, you're not going to pay taxes, right? You're not going to pay taxes if that's your only income. But guess what? You didn't pay taxes in 2024. You didn't pay taxes in 2023. You didn't pay taxes for a long period of time. It's always been that way if that was your only income source, because you've had standard deduction reducing your taxes. And of course, the formula for Social Security. But now it's so like, hey, no Social Security tax. I'm like, man, you want to hit the screen, and I don't. I'm like, you know what? I'm turning it off, and I turn the TV off when I hear that kind of stuff all the time.
Yeah, it's like they're scaring the world out here, scare tactics with one of those big things, like you said, that was one of the big things, no tax on Social Security. Like, yeah, I don't know if it was ever really taxed like that.
Yeah, it wasn't. If that's your only income, it's never been taxed. What are they talking about?
What's the big move here, you know? So it's just,
gosh, I swear, sometimes I'm just like, I want to, like, I go on LinkedIn and I start kind of bloviating, like, this is ridiculous, you know? And then it is what it is, man. People either going to listen or they're just going to be like, put their head in the sand. So I don't know.
yeah, you have some good diatribes on LinkedIn for sure. And that's healthy though. That's healthy. That stuff is healthy. It's not, and this isn't a shot against Facebook or anything, but it's not Facebook. You know what I mean? It's like you can have actual adult conversations about things on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
In that. Okay, so you're down there in Texas, man, and I'm down here in the Wall Street South in Charlotte, you know, and I've had a lot of people from Charlotte who've moved to Texas, which is interesting to me because, you know, and this might get more people at my door than anything you've said. Like, Texas is like the Wild West to me. It's like another country, man. Like, down there in Texas, y'all, you know, so let's go back, right? Let's go back to how you started, like, from baseball to Texas.
Well, I'm born and raised Texan, man. Like, I've been here my entire life. Yeah. I'm born and raised Texas. Been here my entire life. Fort Worth, Texas, matter of fact. So I've been here my entire life. No, I was in New York. I'm gonna say this, man. Like, I love the transportation there. I love the life. I love the freedom. I love everything that we have. And I wish Texas had that kind of thing. But here in Texas, we have our boots, we have our guns, we have our trucks. That's what we do here in Texas, man. We ride around fast in our big trucks, and that's what we do. So I would. I wouldn't give it up for the world, but I'll tell you this for Texas. And by the way, I know that Charlotte's actually has been doing well in regards to people like moving there from a lot of different areas. So I see the population growth there. But in Texas, people always will say this: oh my God, you can move to X city in Texas and get a $300,000-$400,000 house in Texas, and all this stuff is cheap. I'm like, but you still got to live in that place. You know what I mean? Like, you still got to live there. Nobody wants to live there, man. I'm telling you. It's like, you living in this town with like 500 people. Is that what you want? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of that in Texas. And again, if you want cheap housing and stuff, yeah, there's a bunch of spots here, but you still gotta live there. I don't. There's a lot of places in Texas I can't live. It's either Dallas, Fort Worth, possibly Houston, possibly San Antonio, Austin, and then maybe the Pine Curtain on the east side. But other than that, the West, and I'm gonna piss a lot of people off, but the West, they can have all that stuff. West of Fort Worth, Texas, they can have all that.
All right, there you go.
Hey, I said it. Just don't come to my house and attack me.
Yeah, they won't come to your house. That's another thing about Texas, property rights.
Yeah,
people, right?
It's gonna take them 8 hours to get here.
Yeah, but if they do come, you know, like, yeah, they're not coming to your house. Yeah, exactly. Texas is interesting. And a lot of people are moving to Texas, though. Like, even businesses are moving from NASDAQ down to Texas down there.
They say that, and yeah, we got this new Texas exchange coming. I talked to somebody about this yesterday. I said, our infrastructure, and especially our electrical grid, can it handle that? We have data centers popping on this thing. We have the new Texas exchange popping on this thing. We don't have the infrastructure to handle all this new capacity. We never did. Every time it gets 32 degrees down here, things start to fall apart, right? So what are we doing? We're adding on all this new capacity. But here's the issue. We're now having issues with cities with water. We're now having issues with cities with hearing those data center and the noises. They're all upset about it. So there's a lot of pushback right now with all this stuff going on. But this is what's funny. So we had a proposition vote recently about $1 billion or something like that going to new water and energy initiatives. And everybody was like, yeah, this is great. This is great. But they didn't understand that it was going to water and electrical initiatives for data centers. They thought it was going for people like you know what I mean? It's those types of things. It's like, hold on, what's going on? And now they got this huge new facility they're doing out in West Texas, Canyon, West Texas, or wherever. And then they have next to a nuclear facility, next to the big data center, next to like it's just crazy, man. And all of our dollars are going to build these things, and it makes me mad. And tax abatements that they're getting. I could talk about this all day, man. It gets me angry. But yeah, welcome to Texas. That's all I'm saying. That.
Got you. Yeah, but he loves it and wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
Well,
Speaking of
I'm not gonna say. I mean, it's hot. I wouldn't say I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, but this is what I know right now. And if there's, I love Southern California. I'm not gonna lie. Every time I go there, I love it. So who knows?
Southern California catches on fire every year.
Well, Texas don't have anything to catch on fire. Texas has a bunch of dirt. So we gonna do?
Right. But the data centers and the infrastructure, and you mentioned Charlotte, and we're seeing these type of things right now where I'm at locally, like communities adjacent, like counties touching my county. There are people who have knocked down proposals to build data centers. They came in, they were going to build the data centers. Nope. I've seen like 3 in the last year that they've canceled that. Nope, not going to happen. Matthews, North Carolina, Mooresville, North Carolina, just right outside Charlotte. And then the infrastructure, as you mentioned, like, so we continue to have this population growth, but we don't have the infrastructure. People can't drive on the roads or traffic. I went down to Atlanta last month for a conference, or 2 months ago, and Atlanta traffic's too much for me. I don't like traffic. Charlotte traffic is getting bad, so traffic, and there's just, y'all are subsidizing the data centers. If you hear people talking about data centers, they're supposed to pay for their own electricity, correct?
So data centers are getting tax abatements. First off, they're getting tax abatements from the city. So they'll say, hey, we'll do this and we'll get a tax. We don't have to pay certain taxes and basically just coming out of our pocket as as citizens. Next, they're saying that this is what they're trying to say. Well, okay, we don't want you guys to pay for the electricity anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to build new facilities and produce our own energy. And we're gonna pay for our own energy and not have the people pay for it. I'm like, well, that's fine, but you're adding new capacity onto an already affected grid. Where is that new capacity going to have to come from? It's supply and demand. If demand goes up, who has to pay for that? People like us. The prices move higher. I don't give a damn what you guys say. You can do what you want, but if demand goes up, prices go up, and that's what we're going to end up paying. Our bills here in Texas, again, I know it's. I was talking to somebody from California, so I shut my mouth a couple of days ago. I was like, oh, well, that sounds bad. I was good. But we have these Encore, ERCOT, CenterPoint. They're the oligopoly that owns all of the energy supply, the pipes and things like that. And I'm just curious on where all the money goes. They say that it's unprofitable. They need to make more money. They always raising our cost or raising our price. But if these data centers and stuff come in, it's going to be it's just going to be more capacity, and I just want to know exactly where that price is going to go. It's going to come to us, and I just want to if they're getting tax abatements already, and we're subsidizing these quote unquote, why are we paying additional costs for companies like Facebook, like Amazon that are already $2, $3, $4 trillion? You kidding me? You want us to pay? You want a tax abatement for this? Get out of here, man.
And
that's my soapbox right there. That's my soapbox.
Oh, you're good. And these companies already get great tax breaks as well.
Get massive tax breaks. They're already trillions of dollars of $1 trillion companies. I mean, and by the way, this is be real. Like Google, let's talk about Google, or who they call themselves today. Meta, or not Meta's Facebook, but Google's changed its name a couple of times. Alphabet. That company was subsidized by the government when it started at Stanford. Get what I'm saying? So it's like, it's that type of stuff. Like none of this exists without taxpayer dollars. The internet doesn't exist without taxpayer dollars. So be happy that you guys are making money, but ultimately understand that it's on the back of the taxpayer and be cognizant of that.
Yeah, the government really, I mean, they say they make money or whatever, but most of their money comes from taxpayer revenue.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's pretty plain simple. And then down there in Texas, have your data centers became like, you've seen There Will Be Blood?
I don't know. I just know that we've shot a couple down here. There was one up here 5 miles north of me, and the citizens basically went out to the city hall and were just demanding them not to approve it, and they end up approving it anyways. What's so funny about these people is that these people live in the city that are approving it, and I'm like, how do you expect to continue to live there if everybody doesn't want it? And it's crazy. And I'm assuming they'd leave like a year or two later. But anyways, it's definitely been a battlefield, and there's the amount of capacity that these things take from electrical grid and the amount of water that it takes to cool them down. It's kind of crazy in my opinion. But again, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be the same guy like asking ChatGPT or OpenAI or Claude, hey, asking them a question and expecting an answer too. So I can't, I'm hypocritical sometimes as well. So there you go.
You're playing your own devil's advocate.
Exactly. There you go.
Both sides of the sword there. It's interesting. Yeah. Got you. No, so That's just Texas. Now we know,
Yeah.
but you love Texas. Let's
It's a love-hate relationship. I got my boots. I got boots on. There you go.
Fair enough, fair enough. Boots, do you have a bucket hat too, a cowboy hat? You got one of them?
I don't have a cowboy hat yet. I mean, I've not been here my entire life. My dad has a
Okay.
cowboy. I don't have a cowboy hat, but I just recently, honestly, bought some boots during our last ice storm. So I said, I got to get me some boots. So I bought me some boots.
Okay, gotcha. So tell me a little bit about your financial planning firm, your journey. Let's talk a little bit more about non-iCapital. So
Okay.
let's go from you were playing baseball.
Mhm.
You can just start from baseball to how you got there. And I've seen where you posted that you were a victim of a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
can you put that in there too? Because I imagine that probably has something to do with where you were like, what in the world?
So let's just be real. Like, I was making some pretty good money, and I said, "Hey, I met with a guy, a buddy of mine. Matter of fact, I had a podcast with him on, and he talked about the whole situation. He wasn't responsible for the Ponzi scheme. He was a financial advisor. He wasn't responsible for the Ponzi scheme, Matt Drews, but he was working. He was working for the company. Matt's good. Matt's a good dude. Matt Drews, he's a good dude. But
Okay.
he was working for the company, the Stanford company. And I said, hey man, what happened? You know, like so. Anyway, so in 2009 or whatever, I was playing. I was rehabbing I had a torn tendon in my wrist, so I was rehabbing from it. I was in a locker room doing something, just kind of just hanging out, trying to come back from an injury, rehabbing from all this stuff. And then I saw Alan Stanford getting walked out of on CNBC, walked out of his office. I said, "Whoa, what's going on?" So I said, "Hey," I called my guy. He says, "Hey man, we don't know what's going on. The SEC's at our office." I'm like, "Holy smoke, I got to call you back." So boom, couple hours later, man, apparently some Antiguan CDs, something's going on. This is crazy. And finally they called me back and said, "Yeah, the SEC's coming in. Everything's frozen. We can't do anything." And the state administrator will be in contact with everyone. The state administrator has to come in, go through all of the accounting, make sure none of the accounts leave or do anything. It's just basically everything's frozen. And my account was frozen with them for probably 9 months. I didn't have access to anything. And the market was just, and that's when the market was down like 30-something%. So I was looking at it like, this is crazy. But the moral of the story was my money wasn't in the actual Ponzi scheme itself. The Antiguan CDs, which were quote unquote getting people 5% when everything else is getting people 2%. It was the structure they were using to funnel money through a Ponzi scheme. Now, all the other investors of the firm got affected because our money was frozen. So I just happened to be the collateral damage. And I said, never again. Went back to school while I was rehabbing, went back to get my finance degree. I said, this is crazy. I'm not going to do this crap anymore. I want to know what's going on. Got my finance degree, never looked back, man. And now running my own firm, non-iCapital, CFP, RICP, all these alphabet soup EA behind my name. I would never look back, and I did this because of a distrust of the entire Wall Street industry, in my opinion. That's just why I did it.
Gotcha. Yeah, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Right? And life is the best teacher.
Yeah.
You definitely won't let that happen. You know, people were talking about private credit. That sounds like that was a private credit type of deal that you were in, something that maybe wasn't available.
It was actually it was normal. It was normal investments, but the CD, the certificate of deposit, was based in Antigua, and I wasn't in it because I was young. I was equity invested. But for people that were like, hey, I'm older, I need to put some safe money out there, they were funneling millions of dollars to this thing. And he was saying, I'll get you 5%, 4 or 5%. And it's like, well, where are you getting these rates from? This is crazy. And it wasn't even, I mean, to me, it didn't look that bad. I was like, what's, and he kept saying, I can pay it back. I got the money. So
it was too late. That.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's insane.
Pay you back. I didn't even ask you about paying me back yet. You just offered letting me know.
Yeah.
That's a worrisome sign right there. Yeah. No, yeah, like I said, just learning from experience, and you obviously have the proper mindset. That probably goes back to playing sports too as well. Like, swing it, you strike out, you can't remember that. You got to go back up to your next at bat,
1000%, man. You got to keep grinding.
Yeah, you take, I'm not a baseball player, or never was, played some basketball, football, but I know, like, you got to let go of that stuff, especially like in football. You can't hold on to that next play. You can you take parts and keys from it. Like, you might take something from that pitcher, like what he got you with that pitch in life, and then you apply it so it doesn't happen next time. You store it back there, but yeah, you can't just let it derail you.
1000%, my man.
In these crazy, let's talk about right now a little bit more into your firm and just in the market. Where are you seeing in the world, in the market, and how are you working with your clients. We just went through a crazy time from February through right now. And and we're recording at the end of April. This will probably be out the beginning of May. And I'm
Yeah.
sure there'll be more madness in between now and then.
Well, I was just on Yahoo a couple of days ago, and I was talking about this, about back in the days we could get 5.25% in easy money market cash and in treasuries, and it was like, oh my God, this is great. 2% real yields, this is amazing. And we could hang out there with in a risk-free environment like a couple of years ago, and we would just sit there and be like, oh, this is just a phenomenal thing. And that allows us to get outsized returns in the fixed income space. So we would have a portfolio of fixed income. Let's just say it's 40%, a 60-40 portfolio, 40% being fixed income. We could use some of that 40% and allocate that to that safe asset. And then that produced a little bit more alpha for us. And we were outperforming the market for a while, like, because it was like, this is great. And now you have rates coming down. Now the fixed income portion was actually moving up as well. So we were really doing well. But now you're in an environment where we have headline inflation at 3.3%. They can lie to us all they want to about where inflation is. 3.5%. No, it's not. We live in the core environment. We live where there's food and there's energy. I don't give a damn where they live. We live in the real world. So 3.3% headline inflation. And then now you have yields that are 3.5 or 3.25 to possibly 3.8, 3.9% on the front end of the curve. You have money markets getting 3.5%. You're getting basically either flat to negative real yields in these asset classes. So what are people doing? They're taking that cash and they're dumping it into equities because they have no alternative. That's what you're seeing right now. That's why markets continually moving higher, because there is no alternative. I mean, equities have outpaced over inflation over the longer term. So if you want to outpace that 3.3%, where do you have to go? Asset prices will have to inflate, and that's what you're seeing right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, and like you said, stocks, equities historically outperform inflation. Cash loses its value. I think I heard somewhere say the other day, like, inflation is eating up like 10 years worth of inflation like the last 3 or 5 years. It's just been crazy how much inflation is eating up our actual purchasing power. So it's just like, so inside your portfolios, you're just saying, so you've gone from 60-40 to what, 70-30?
No. So what I've been doing, so the 60-40, which is of the 40% that I had that's fixed income, and a portion of that 40% we had like a cash bucket that was getting some outside return. So of that 40%, which is fixed income, we had probably a 10 to 15% sleeve that was actually cash and cash equivalents. So now we're getting out of that cash and cash equivalents and sprinkling that into more aggressive fixed income, like high yield and or some equity exposure. So when we talk about equity exposure and more risk, we're talking about high yield, possibly some preferreds, some corporate bonds that are getting a little bit of high yield, and then of course maybe sprinkling it into some equity exposure. So yeah, maybe it goes from 60-40 to say a 65-35 ish. But we're taking some of that cash and sprinkling it out on the risk curve. That's basically what we're saying.
Got you. Yeah, very interesting. So you're taking it and you're a little more risk on.
Yeah, a little bit more risk on. I mean, because you have to be. I mean, I'm not going to sit here now. I'm not saying that we're going to take their cash they're using for 6 months to 9 months or years worth of emergency. We're not taking that, but we're talking about just from portfolio allocation. Yeah, we're taking that cash and putting it to work.
Yeah, I got you. I understand. Yeah. And then inside your actual portfolios right now. So I know for a while, when we had that mega bull run, I said 23, 24, 25, the American exceptionalism, air quotes, trade was working. But we saw in the last year that it diversified back out. We're kind of back into a cyclical rotation. Are you, and I had my clients aligned there for a while with that American exceptionalism trade. It worked. But then like at the beginning of last year, if you were still in that, you got your whole just entire face ripped off, pants pulled down, everything. You got exposed if you were in that too long. But are you more diversified outside the U.S.? As far as your equity portions?
Yes. So I typically have 15 to 25% in international at all times, especially last year when international just went gangbusters. I think our allocation may be up a little bit, possibly to 30%. I could pull that back, but at all times I like to have I keep it diversified across multiple asset classes. I don't overweight U.S. or underweight anything. I just keep it like, hey, if our portfolio is 70-30, of that 70% equity, we want to have a minimum of 15 to 25% inside of international, and then we'll diversify the rest, small cap, mid cap, large cap, etc. So yeah, I keep international exposure at all time, and a mixture of commodities as well.
What kind of commodities do you like?
It's just gold, and then of course silver. Just the typical stuff. I mean, nothing, not platinum, palladium, or anything like that. Just kind of gold and silver. Just keep it simple.
Yeah, I added some metals to our portfolios when gold broke. When's that? January from its all-time highs. It's just interesting. Like you said, it's just a placeholder kind of diversifier inside that portfolio.
3 to 5%. 3 to 5%.
Right.
Nothing more. Yeah.
Right. Nothing more. And then what are your takes on alternative asset, like the alternative asset allocators? How are you looking at those inside your portfolios?
I use mainly ETFs for that. I don't want to get into try to pick it and choose. And so if it's an alternative asset allocator, there's a couple of different options, especially in the ETF space. So I allow them to go in there and pick managers. And again, this is another 1 to 2%, 3% of the portfolio at all times. And again, I follow a lot of managers like BlackRock and State Street, so we'll monitor those. But typically, we just like to keep everything in an ETF wrapper because I don't want to be exposing my client to what we call idiosyncratic risk of just one single company or one single player.
Right, exactly. So so if someone was wanting to come check out Non-I Capital, say they want to come work with you, what would that look like? Tell me a little bit about your process. Let's talk a little bit about.
So you want to know about my So I typically like to start with the taxes. I want to see exactly what's going on with someone's 1040. It's like doing an X-ray. Like I gotta let me X-ray. Let me see if there's anything I can see, any issues we're gonna have to look at. Because I wholeheartedly believe that you can't do proper planning without looking at the X-ray. And you have so many advisors, and I was one of them, by the way. I was one of them, and I'm not saying you're wrong or anybody's wrong for doing it this way. But if you're looking to put something on someone's balance sheet, like an annuity or some life insurance or this or that or whatever it is, how can you do that without looking at an X-ray and seeing exactly what's going on in their financial life and what their taxes look like? You're just moving things in products. It doesn't make any sense. So I start with the taxes. I go back and I analyze them. We make sure that they're correct over the last 2 to 3 years, make sure there's not anything that we're missing. And then we can start saying, okay, in your tax return, this is what we see, and then we'll start putting that financial plan in order. But it has to start there.
Thank you for joining us on this insightful journey with Kevin Thompson. In this episode, we dove into the intricacies of the OB33, the impacts of the data center, and the realities of tax legislations. Kevin's unique perspective, shaped by his transition from baseball to financial planning, offers invaluable insights into navigating these complex topics. His expertise as an enrolled agent gives you some of the legalese that most people can't touch. But there's more to explore. In part 2, we dive deeper into Kevin's financial strategies, uncovering how to leverage these insights for smarter wealth management. From understanding tax implications to making informed investment decisions, Kevin's expertise is essential for anyone looking to master their financial future. Don't miss out on the continuation of this conversation. Part 2 will be out soon, and take the next step towards building a legacy that lasts. Main Street Heart meets Wall Street Smarts.